Hello, people. Welcome to the community of the Growth Mindset podcast. Guys, if you are a first time listener, don't forget to subscribe on whichever platform you're listening from so that you don't miss on more interesting episodes coming up in following weeks. And for our daily listeners, here we are again with a new episode where we will interview another interesting personality from a unique industry and understand how they were able to accomplish this great level of success. Remember, this is a podcast where we learn easy, practical methods and tips that we can implement in our daily lives from the very best and the most successful people known today. Because as we all know, success leaves clues. And we, the people having the growth mindset, will use these clues to create a better, more fulfilling, and a successful life. So, let the growth begin. Hey guys, we have a very special and inspiring guest today. She is the founder of a leading blogging website in India. She is none other than Malini Agarwal, a.k.a. MissMalini. Malini is an Indian digital influencer, TV host, entrepreneur, and the best-selling author of To the Moon, How I Blogged My Way to Bollywood. Now, Miss Malini is India's leading Bollywood fashion and lifestyle blog. On this episode, we talk to Malini and understand how she was able to build a successful business. And we also discuss topics like how to build a successful business, mistakes to avoid while you're starting as an entrepreneur, Malini's background story, and her new initiatives, which is hashtag ignore no more and Malini's Girl Tribe. So without further ado, let's go to the interview. Malini, thank you so much for taking your time out and
My
joining
pleasure.
us on the Growth Mindset podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So, Malini, people know you in the blogging space. People know you as a successful business leader. Now, before we dive into your journey, what you've been doing, how you achieve this level of success, can you give us a little background about what was your childhood like? How did all this story begin in the first place?
So my dad was in the foreign service, so I grew up as a Diplo brat. Actually, when I was born in Allahabad. But when I was 6 months old, he started getting posted to different places. So I lived all over the world. I went to American schools in Lebanon, Greece, Somalia, Bulgaria, Ivory Coast, Germany. We kept moving. That's why my accent is kind of confused.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing experience because I really opened my mind to being the person I am today and to having my own opinion and getting a chance to do a lot of theater and dance. And then when he retired, I moved back to Delhi. I lived in Delhi for 6 years, in fact. And then in the year 2000, I just picked up all my suitcases and moved to Bombay on a whim in the year 2000, literally 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I remember while I was, reading about you and your story, your life was pretty comfortable back then, right, in Delhi. But then you moved to Mumbai, because you realized that, your mom asked said that, you can't be a background dancer for your entire life. So what you want to do in real, right? So you decided, okay, let me go back to Mumbai and start something of my own. And then you got into a house which was shared by six different people. That was really hilarious to me because I did not understand why. Like from there to there, like you might have afforded something else, some other place, but why that place? Were there some financial issues? Why you were in that flat sharing with six different people?
Yeah, I didn't have any money. When I moved to Bombay, I had two suitcases. I had 40,000 rupees, which doesn't last very long in
Mhm.
Bombay. And I didn't have any friends or family here. So I had to manage. And that's when get a place where the rent is really low. I mean, this is when we used to try to get PGs for 4,000 rupees.
Mhm.
So I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't something I was doing for fun.
Okay. So did you get the support from your family saying, okay, you're going there, we're gonna support you, or is what was it your own choice saying, I'm gonna do everything on my own?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ask them for any money because it was something I wanted to do, and I'm sure that if I needed it, they would have supported me with it. But it wasn't that they didn't support me. I didn't ask for financial support. I think that for me, it's more about emotional and mental support makes a big difference.
Interesting. Now at a point in time, right, you were doing a radio gig as well, like from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And then you also had a 9 to 5 job. Now,
Right.
for women who are trying to make a career, let's say in India, uh, any practical tips that you can share that can help them, make sure that they are succeeding in all areas of life, as well as making sure they are working on their dreams as well.
for young women.
Young women as well as let's say women who want to start their career. We can start off with young women first. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for women, I mean, so we have something called Malini's Girl Tribe, which really just focuses on
Yeah.
this as well. I think right now we have about 50,000 women, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs. So we've actually done a spotlight for over 150 of them. I think that my best advice to you would be don't think of yourself as a woman entrepreneur as opposed to another entrepreneur. It's, everybody who's building a business is building
True.
a business. And you have, as women, you have really high EQ as well. And I think, when people always ask me to make that comparison, I hesitate to do that because there isn't necessarily that big a difference in how you run your business. It's maybe how people perceive you. I think what happens is a lot of women coming back to work after they have children, the onus is on them to somehow the family and the
Mm.
work. It shouldn't be like that. I think just as much as you ask a woman about work-life balance, you should be asking a man. So I think practical tips, honestly, are, be organized, stay ahead of the technology, understand what people are doing, collaborate with a lot of people. I think those are the big things.
Okay. Can you tell us more about the Girl Tribe, Malini Girl Tribe? What it is all about? When did you start this?
Yeah, sure. So I started Malini's Girl Tribe as just a community on Facebook because I felt that women have a really hard time online, as I'm sure you've seen. There's a lot
Yeah.
of trolling, and creepy DMs, and all of those things. And so I just wanted to create a safe space and a community on Facebook groups that just launched. So I was like, okay, let me try it out. And I was really amazed how women really do need a space like that. And I'm sure guys do too, but we'll start with girls. And it's a place where we talk about literally everything, but the values are empathy, kindness, and positivity. And that's so important because, as you've seen, no matter what the topic is, people are so quick to judge and get angry and fight with each other online. And they don't behave the way it would in real life. So that was kind of the thought behind it. And it's a very safe space. You can join by invitation. Any women can join. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you're from. We have members from over 100 countries, and we do some really cool things. So we'll have master classes and virtual happy hours and red carpets. So you can, be in a virtual happy hour with Sushmita Sen and talk about adoption and, whatever it is that you want to do through this community. And we try to bring really good experiences. We try to help women who are building businesses. We give people a place, an open forum to ask questions without judgment.
Interesting. Now, I want to go back to what you just said, Malini's Girl Tribe. Like, when did you see the need of this, and when did you start this? Which year was it when you started this Malini's Girl Tribe?
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
And you have over 50,000
Yes.
women already joined in. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. Now, I personally know of a lot of women entrepreneurs who basically want to, go ahead and start their own business. Now, as you said, women have their own set of challenges when it comes to starting a business, like family samalo, do this, do that, and also have a work-life balance. But if I could ask you, let's say, three practical advice that you could give women entrepreneurs basically coming forward and trying to build a business, what are some traits that they need to develop in them, which can help them at least make sure that their startup at least starts in the first? Because a lot of people are not even taking action on their startup. So how can they convert those ideas into a startup, and traits that they need to build?
I mean, building ideas now, you're in a great time and opportunity. I mean, look for what the world needs. Right now, during coronavirus, we've seen a lot of people are adapting and evolving their business to fit what is the requirement for the audiences today. So people are looking for a lot more home delivery. They're looking for fitness classes at home. So I have a lot of friends who are yoga teachers who are now doing Zoom classes, so things like that. Personality traits, I think it's good to have your own traits. I don't think there's one size fits all for everyone, but I think it's really important to have patience, to
Mhm.
have determination, and to believe in yourself. And I think it's really good to find the right mentors. Don't think you have to do everything alone. There's a lot of women who are out there doing exactly what you do. Find and be part of those communities, and you'll find it very rewarding.
Hmm. Now, you touched upon a very important part, saying finding mentors. Now, if you go, let's say online, if you try to find mentors, you will find almost every person trying to be a mentor and a coach. So, how do you identify the right mentors so that girls can, or the women can actually know that, okay, he's the right person that is going to help me go to the next level?
I mean, the thing is, mentors don't work like that, right? It's not that you just go and follow any random person who's being a mentor. I'm talking about a very personal mentor. So it could
Exactly.
be somebody you go up to, and you would immediately know if it's someone that you respect and admire enough to be your mentor. And they should take an interest in you. They have to have a commitment, be your cheerleader, and open connections and doors for you. So I don't really think there's any such thing as, a fake mentor. If they're mentoring you, then they're adding some value.
Okay. So basically, you're suggesting more in terms of getting in touch with a person and then working with them closely, trying to listen to them, and then implementing those in your life.
Yeah, I think it's important to find people that either are in your industry or that you look up to. And, there's a lot of mentorship programs now as well. So we've just started one, which we're going to be launching soon as well, with Devraj Sanyal and people from,
Hmm.
a lot of amazing mentors have come together to create something, a mentorship program that will be launched soon. There's great ways to do that as well. So I would highly recommend that. Yeah.
Okay, how can people reach out to you? Have you already started that mentorship program?
It's in the process. We'll definitely be posting about it soon.
Perfect. And you've also started a campaign on social media, right? Hashtag ignore no more online against cyberbullying. So what is this? Can you help us understand more about this?
Yeah, so it just leads on again from why we started Girl Tribe, because there's so much trolling and negativity and sexual harassment, especially if you ask any girl, her
Yeah.
DMs will be filled with it. And I think, all of us have been told that ignore karo, they're just looking for attention, but I don't think that's true anymore. I think that we need to do something about it, because as we live online more and more, and we do our Instagram lives and our interviews, and we're seeing the kinds of things people are saying, which are just horrendous. And you would not allow someone to talk to you or behave that way in real life. So why are we allowing it to happen online? So we started this campaign, Ignore No More Online, and already it's got a lot of support, where we want to do a couple of different things. We want to educate people about what's out there, what the laws are, just so women know their rights, that it is actually against the law for someone to stalk you, to solicit sexual messages, to send you explicit messages. It's all against the law. People can go to jail.
True.
And for as a deterrent to people who are doing it. And so often now, we're working with ethical hackers like Shubham and various lawyers. And as soon as these 14, 15-year-old guys who are sending these messages get a phone call, they go from saying really horrible things to, sorry, Didi, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so the third piece of this is education, which is online gender sensitization at a primary school level. So we're working on making all of that happen. For now, we're working on awareness, education, and accountability. I think it's important that there's accountability. So once somebody realizes that this is not okay, they won't do it again. Because, this is India is full of this, rape culture. And where does it start? It starts somewhere where people think it's okay to say anything to a girl, to behave anyway, to demand her attention, even if she doesn't want to give it to you.
I love the part where you actually got to the deep, the bottom of the issue, when it all boils down to the kind of education we've provided to our kids. Now, I want to touch upon this part because this is very crucial and important. How can parents make sure, right, that their kids are not going ahead and bullying others as well? Like any things that we can teach our kids to make sure that they're on the right track, because it's very easy these days, right? You just pick up a phone and you start trolling people sitting at your home and doing nothing, right? So it's pretty easy to go ahead and sexually harass people. So what can
I
parents
think
do?
there's a gap between the generation before us, right? I think our generation, the millennials, the gen before this, are more aware because we're spending so much time online, so we know what's out there. Our parents probably didn't know and don't use social media as much, so they don't really understand what's happening in people's Instagram DMs. So it's up to us that, as you raise your children, your sons and your daughters, you teach them that it's not okay to behave a certain way, and it's not okay if somebody behaves with you in a certain way, to report it, to come and tell me as a parent, and to monitor what they're doing. I think it's important to be aware of what social media platforms your child is on. What are they doing? What are they saying to people? It's not about invading their privacy, but you need to have that honest conversation with them, saying, this is just how you would behave in real life, is how I expect you to behave online. And if you do things that are against the law or hurt other people, then there will be consequences. And there has to be accountability at home, and not look at social media as just as this playground to behave any way you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's very important because most parents do think that, if they ask their kids for social media profiles or check that, that'll be more like invading their privacy, right? But understanding that this is not just invading your privacy, but you're trying to understand what your kid is doing, as well as making sure that it's not getting into something which may backfire tomorrow.
Right.
Hmm. I've also heard that you are a workaholic. You've been working like crazy amount of hours whenever you're working and when you were trying to build a business. So tell us more about it. Like, how did you find balance? How are you making things work?
I mean, yeah, I'm a workaholic, but I really enjoy it. I think I'm a really big multitasker, so I always have a lot of different things going on at the same time.
Hmm.
And I think to make it work, you have to have a really good team. You have to have the right people. You have to have a process in place. I think for us, I've been very lucky that I've got a really good team. We're a team of 65 people, so I don't do everything myself anymore. But having said that, my day is filled with lots of different pieces. So, I mean, I don't really see my work as work very often because it's also part of what I love to do. So it's not so much as a workaholic as a lifeaholic, I think.
Interesting. You've made your business, you've grown this from one person to 65 people today, as you just said. What were some of the challenges you incurred while starting Miss Malini? How did you overcome those?
I think the big challenge was finding the right talent because people weren't
Hmm.
social media writers at that time. I think that it was also difficult for people to understand the value of internet, digital marketing, influencer marketing. There was no such thing, even though Miss Malini was an influencer in 2008. That word didn't exist. I think getting brands to become aware of the value, all of that was the big challenge. But aside from that, it's actually been really, really fun.
So, how about finding, let's say, if somebody's starting a business, they want to find the right talent. What qualities and traits do you think a business owner should look for to make sure that they're building a successful team?
I think it's important to have people who align with your culture and your vibe. So whenever I hire someone, I ask them about their personal values. I ask them what they want to do eventually. And it's important to help people get on their paths to success, right? You might be living your dream, but you need to make sure that whatever you're getting people to do in life at your company is helping them improve where they want to go and getting them on the paths to somewhere. So I think that's really key. And I think a lot of people now learn on the job. So it's not even so much about academics, especially not in this industry, maybe in some others. Like obviously you need the medical backing to do something in
Yeah.
medicine, but when it comes to entertainment and content and being an influencer, it's a lot of learning on the job. So I would say look for people who have heart, determination, who are doing it not just for the money.
Okay. Now, I want to go to your life story because your work involves working with a lot of business owners, celebrities, right? So you've met a lot of celebrities as well, right? I want to ask you, in from the outside, like let's say if somebody from the outside is having a look at celebrities, like they have cars, fame, bungalows, looks amazing from the outside, but how is it from the inside? Like, is that the only answer? Like, are Bollywood stars or actors truly happy as well as satisfied with their lives? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, is anybody truly happy and satisfied with their lives? I don't think anybody is, right? Everybody always looks for more. There are things that make you sad, that make you happy, that you have struggles. I think the big problem is that we look at celebrities as non-humans and we
Hmm.
like to just, dissect their lives and their relationships. And I don't think that we would be okay with it if someone did that to us. Granted, they're in the public eye, so they've kind of signed up for it. But just like if I asked you, and there's always going to be someone who look at you and say, wow, you have it all compared to them. If someone who didn't have a house or didn't have, a job, looked at you and said, wow, it looks like he has it all figured out. He has a house. What would you say to them? You'd say the same thing, right? That it
Yeah.
depends on the situation. It depends on what I'm going through at that point in my life. And you can't tell someone that, oh, you have all this stuff, you should be happy. That's not what happiness comes from.
Hmm. So what can people do basically to find happiness and feel like they're to be successful? Any tips that you have on your mind?
I mean, I genuinely think success is happiness. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think you become happy from success. I think you become successful if you are happy.
Hmm, interesting. And when did you feel the need to stand up as a woman entrepreneur and start empowering women? I right, like how you started a lot of campaigns, Malini's Girl Tribe. When did you see the need of this?
I mean, it's always been there. And I don't think that I, became a woman entrepreneur to start empowering women. I started off as an entertainment entrepreneur. And then it's
Hmm.
evolved. And even for me, I still don't think of this as a CSR, social work. I think it just blends really well with what we do. And we wanted to create positive, wholesome, like you said, empowering content that does showcase women and men equally. And that's what it's about. So, and I think it's been an evolution, right? I think as you grow up, you realize the things that are important to you. And that's what you focus on.
Hmm. Now, Malini, your blog, right, is one of the most famous blogs in the world. Your website, amazing. Now, if you had to give, let's say, practical advice or let's say tips to aspiring writers or let's say even the journalists today, what would you be? Because if you see what is happening in the media today, it is all over the place, right? Everybody's jumping one on the other person, trying to pull them down. But according to you, what can people do so that they are also being ethical, being right, and promoting the right stuff, where they're giving more positive content out? So, what should keep journalists should keep an eye out for, and writers should keep an eye out for whenever they are going there and promoting
I
something?
think it's the responsibility of journalists to stick to the facts and not make assumptions or rile people up in one way or the other until the truth is out there. I think we're very guilty of making our assumptions, and people will gossip, people will talk,
True.
but lives are ruined in the process of this because of social media and trial by media. So I think it's important for the police and the law to do their work, absolutely, and the law should be upheld. But it's important for the media to be respectful of that process and not preempt it.
Yeah. The reason I asked you that question is because I listened in one of your interviews. You said that you're very strict when it comes to uploading your content, right? You make sure that if you don't know about something, if the facts are not involved, you're not gonna promote that or write about it. You kind of avoid gossip when you're not sure of it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a really simple rule: never write anything you can't say to somebody's face. And I
Interesting.
think if you apply that, then it makes it easy for you to know what to do, even when it comes to writing a comment on someone's post.
That is perfect. I mean, if people can just take that to their heart and think about it, I mean, definitely they're gonna stop a lot of things that they were doing initially. Now,
Absolutely.
now for women, Malini, right, who may not know where to start from, what their passion is, what their dreams are, how can they identify those? Like how you were able to identify a market gap, like what can boom in coming years. How can women identify that and also identify the passion so that that goes hand in hand to become successful?
I think the way to identify your passion, there's a really interesting concept called ikigai. It's a Japanese concept that says the answer to that question is at the center of three questions. It's, what do I love to do? What am I good at? What can I be paid to do? And what does the world need? And you have to think about that from yourself and then decide what is the thing that you want to focus. There's no formula, there's no recipe to figuring out your passion. It's what are the things that you're really interested in, things that you find of value. They might keep changing as well, but I think a lot of people do know or have an idea or love doing something, and then it's more about pursuing it. That's the difficult part.
Interesting. You mentioned the name of the book, Ikigai. I want to ask you this. Are you an avid reader? Do you read a lot of books?
I do, yeah. I mean, I wrote a book too.
Let me ask you this. Which are your two most favorite books?
It's very hard to pick two. I have a lot of favorite books. I think that I really like this book called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because it's just a lot of fun and I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it very much. And I've read so many books on different topics that it's very hard to pick two. I mean, I think Ariana Huffington has a great book on, thriving and dealing with, sleep deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah's written books. And there's so
Yeah.
many people to admire. So, I mean, the ones that come to mind are more easy reading. I'm reading another one by Tom Robbins called Still Life with Woodpecker, which is sort of a fun, easy read. So there's no all-time favorite. There's just too
Mm-hmm.
many.
Okay. Going back to your part wherein starting a business, be it women or be it men, right? Now you work with a lot of businesses. You may have seen the pattern that separates the normal company from a successful company, because end of the day it all boils down to patterns and how people are running the company. So any patterns that you've observed, Malini, that successful companies are doing compared to not so successful ones?
I think successful companies care about their people. Even in times like COVID, figuring out what they need, getting their insurance sorted are basics, but also, taking care of their mental and emotional health. So I think companies are not just built on businesses, they're built on people. Investors invest in people, they don't
Yeah.
invest in just an idea. So I think the successful companies are the ones that put the people first.
Hmm. Okay. And if you could go back, I want to ask you this now. Let's if you could go
Yeah.
back 20 years, 25 years back in time, and give yourself, your young self, an advice. Let's say one piece of advice that would help you become or correct the mistake that you might have made. What that advice would be?
See, it's very hard to go back and give yourself advice because I wouldn't be this person if I hadn't made all those mistakes or do all
Mm-hmm.
those things that I
True.
do. So
True.
I guess the best advice I would give myself is not to wish time away. I think we're always so busy saying, okay, when will school finish? When will college finish? When will the summer holidays come? And you miss out on life in that process. So you should never wish time away. Try to be present. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it is this, that there may not necessarily be um, a future always to look forward to, but what you have is now, make the most of it.
Perfect. Since we were talking about the pandemic, you touched upon the pandemic part. You understand that most of the businesses have shut down today. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Now, for people, how can they make sure that they are physically, mentally stable? Because most of the time now, what is happening is people are working from home, right? The
Yeah.
environment has changed. Home was a place when people used to come, relax with the family, but now it has turned the upside down, right? It's the same place where you work. So, what can people do to make sure they are sane as well as also being productive at the same time working from home?
I think everyone finds their own system. I think some people create a workspace and then make sure they switch off from work after certain hours and give yourself time. For me, I found having some sort of schedule, but doing fun things. So I started learning Spanish and I do a yoga class and I started doing a fitness class with 57 Physique. These things help, and I think it's actually given me a chance to do things that I never had time to do before because I have less commute or I'm not doing as many shoots. So I think it's different for everyone. There's no one formula that fits everyone, but I think it's about keeping yourself again busy enough and focusing on things that bring you some joy. It could be anything. You may feel joy not doing anything and just watching TV, and that's fine too.
Okay, perfect. Now, this is one question, Malini, that I ask almost every guest on my podcast that I've hosted so far. This is one last question. Let's say 20, 30 years from now, right? You've accomplished everything that you ever wanted in life. You've made an impact. You've helped people, men, women, start a business, all that stuff you've achieved, accomplished. But now, let's say this is the last days of your on the planet, right? And you can give only two advice to everybody on this planet to live a successful and a happy, fulfilling life. What those two advice are going to be?
If I was going to die tomorrow, what advice would I give people basically?
Sure, sure.
Um, I guess, my advice would be, like I said, I just gave it, is that, make the most of your now. Don't wish time away.
Hmm.
And, there's so many things we put off because we're busy, which is like calling the people we love or making that time to, have that cup of tea with your mom. Make time for that. Those are the things that matter most.
Hmm. All right, fair enough. So thank you so much, Malini, for taking your time out
Thanks
and
for
joining
having
us
me.
on the
Okay.
podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks.
This brings us to the end of this episode and hope you at least had one takeaway from this interview. If you have any questions or want to talk to me personally, you can find me at www.silawatirshad.com. See you soon.